Hello, friends, and welcome to episode number 121 of Nostalgia Talk, the second show of the year 2026. You know, it's funny. I saw something on Instagram recently when you're finally of age to go to a bar, and the bouncer in this bar was just a skit, but the bouncer was like, "Sorry, I can't let you in here." But I was born in 2007. Yeah, I know. So I'm of age. No, you're not. That's really what it feels. That's how fast time goes. So before I introduce the guests, there's something I would like to tell all of the listeners. If you're in the Halifax, Nova Scotia area, like I am, on April 4th, I encourage you to come to the stage show Someplace Believing at the Sanctuary Arts Center in Dartmouth. I'm going to be there video recording it, and I've been in rehearsal every weekend, filming a documentary on its progress. The play is going very, very well. The tagline for the play is "Mental health is the new normal." So if this is something that interests you, I encourage you to come to the show. It's going very, very well, and yeah, it's going to be a great show, and we hope to see you there. So let's get on with my show, Nostalgia Talk. Let's have a big welcome for Raymond Carr.
Hey everybody.
Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here. For anybody who doesn't know, Raymond is a puppeteer who is best known for his work with Henson, such as on Splash and Bubbles and Earth to Ned, as well as on the non-Henson show LazyTown. He does theater puppetry as well. I read on his website getting ready for this, and also puppeteers the Aflac duck. Sorry to anybody who is irritated by the voice of that character. Flack. Come on, we all have nightmares of that character now. And he also directs on Yo Gabba Gabbaland.
Yes, I actually don't do the voice for the Aflac duck. I just puppeteer.
Which is why I
Yeah,
felt comfortable razzing on it.
yeah. No, that voice is yeah, classic. No, thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been and having me on your show. It's fun.
Well, I'm happy to have you on the show. So, to kick things off, let's get really nostalgic. How did you first become interested in puppetry? Because I've seen that you've done a lot of different styles and forms of puppetry.
Yeah, I got it's always a kind of complex story, and I generally have to, like, if I'm at a party or something, people ask that question, I have to weigh my chances, like, do I want to give the real story, or do I just want to give them the uh coded one that will get me out of this conversation? But um
Please
the
don't
long
feel that
answer,
here.
no. The long one is that I was homeschooled by church clowns. um my parents were clowns in the ministry and church in Los Angeles, California, and they in the 80s, and we they wanted to do stuff for the ministry, which to kind of entertain the kids and keep them attentive in churches. And so my they would dress up as clowns and do Bible stories and magic and skits and stuff like that, and my brother and I would do puppets for the church in the
Oh, actual
background.
clowns. When you said church clowns, I thought, ooh,
Oh
that
yeah.
sounds like a Raz.
No, literal church clowns.
Okay, thank God.
Yeah, no.
I was like,
And I mean,
ouch.
they were clowns for the church in both senses. But
Ooh.
yeah, so but we traveled around America, I mean, the States rather, for most of the year. About the height of it was like 200 times a year. And basically around the southeast area, and particularly in the West Coast where we were, where I was born and raised. And then we moved to Atlanta, Georgia, when I was a teenager, which is home to the Center for Puppetry Arts, which is the country's largest puppetry theater and museum. I think it might be the world's largest puppetry museum. It also has the largest collection of Jim Henson puppets,
Oh
which is really
yeah.
cool.
I've
Yeah,
personally
yeah.
never been to the Center for Puppetry Arts or Atlanta. I've been to Savannah, Georgia, but never Atlanta.
Hmm.
Center for Puppetry Arts is definitely something I'm interested in seeing one day because I've seen the pics.
Yeah,
I follow them on social media. I've attended
yeah.
some of their Zoom events. I've seen the really cool stuff that they do.
It's truly a national treasure, and if any of your listeners ever get a chance, they definitely need to check it out. And they have shows for both adults and kids. And so I basically was doing church puppet stuff, pretty basic, simple stuff, and got pretty good at that kind of stuff. And that was inspired by like Muppet style puppets, hand and rod puppets. Um, and then the center blew my mind because it was all kinds of puppetry, marionettes and bunraku and rod puppetry and glove puppetry, shadow puppetry, every kind of puppetry you can imagine. And it was not just, I always had the mindset of creating stories and visuals and spectacle with the style of puppetry I was doing, but it was always kind of muted because it had to be, church appropriate. And my imagination was honestly too big for the church. So it got me into trouble sometimes.
I video recorded a show once, and we're actually rehearsing it at a church, and we had
Mhm.
to tone down a lot
Oh
of the
yeah.
language because we had the church actually watching it.
Yeah, yeah, of course. So my stuff wasn't necessarily dirty or anything. I just was more, out there, avant-garde, experimental, and stuff like that. And so when I discovered the center, I really realized that there was like this whole other world of puppetry out there. And that's what I really gravitated towards and started directing my own work. They have some really great programs. One particularly for any of your listeners, even those who are not in Georgia, called Experimental Puppetry Theater, XPT. And it's a thing where you submit an idea, and if you're accepted, it's a short play festival. You can present your work, and you have about 4 months to 5 months to produce it and stuff. And it can be live or video. So if you have a short film concept, and they give out grants, so you can get a little bit of money to produce your work. And you have resources of the center, so you can talk to builders and producers and designers if you get stuck on like any kind of ideas, or if you have just need extra hands. So if you need like music, there's people that just volunteer as like, hey, I'm not a puppeteer, but I'd like to play the piano. So you can talk to them. So um, it's just a really amazing event organization and opportunity. So I did probably about 10 different experimental puppetry pieces over the course of the years, of various levels of skill and quality. Um, but what's great about it is A, it gives you a deadline and it gives you an audience, which so much of puppetry is in search of those things, not to mention a budget. So it really was an opportunity to let me like literally experiment and find my voice as an artist, which is something that you don't really find until you've made a whole bunch of crap for people to see. And then like the 10th or 12th one, you're like, oh, actually, that was pretty good. Um, so yeah, and Atlanta has a big puppetry scene. There's puppet slams where people can just come up and, you know, present their stuff. It's pretty low quality, but it's generally comedy, adult comedy based, and throw out some ideas. It's kind of like an open mic night kind of a situation. So
Nice.
I participated in those for years and years. Like I said, just trying to find my voice and just getting my experience that way. Um, yeah, and that's kind of what led me to LazyTown back in, oh, I guess it's 2003, I
So,
think.
so Lazy Town was like your first
Yeah.
puppetry like job on TV.
My first television job. At that point, I was already working at the center,
Hmm.
and the center does like really amazing quality works. It's a multi-million-dollar production company, so we were doing really awesome productions. But this was my first TV experience, and I participated in some TV puppetry workshops, and think I'd done a little bit of video work myself, but nothing, certainly nothing to the scale that I was exposed to on LazyTown. But yeah, that was definitely a mind-opening experience.
And you bring up
Yeah.
Lazy Town. Very early when I started this podcast, I actually did a Lazy Town cast reunion with a couple of the cast. There was Chloe Lang, who was the last Stephanie in
Hmm.
the last two seasons. Jodie Eichelberger came.
Oh yeah.
David Matthew Feldman
Hmm.
came. It was actually his idea.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, I didn't think it was gonna take off, but who knew? It became my number one nostalgia talk of all time.
That's awesome.
David came, Amy Garcia was there, and
Yeah.
Julie Westwood,
Hmm.
and it was in 2021, so this was shortly after we lost Stefan Carl Stephenson, who, for any of
Mhm.
our listeners who don't know or don't remember from the LazyTown reunion, was the villain of LazyTown, Robbie Rotten. He passed away. I can't believe it's been almost 10 years since that happened.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
it's really I said to the cast, it's really hard to have a conversation about LazyTown nowadays without talking about him. And they had such nice things to say about him. Did you ever have any interaction with him at all?
Oh, constantly. Yeah. So I started on that when I was 21, I think. Outside of um, the woman who was playing Stephanie, who I guess was 12 at the time.
Like the first Stephanie?
Yeah, yeah,
Ju-
Julie.
Juliana, yeah.
Yeah, Juliana. She was the youngest, obviously, and then I was like the second youngest. So I felt like just a child because I was. But Stefan, he was on all the time in a wonderful way. He wasn't like the obnoxious, like trying to make everybody laugh for laugh's sake kind of a thing. He was just such a delight. And he really treated me as an equal in a lot of ways. And was invited us over to his house. And I had a lot of like he made me feel like an adult. And when you're that age, that's always really nice. Then people don't like talk down to you and all that kind of stuff when you're 20, 21, and they treat you as an equal. And he was so kind and hilarious. He was like, he would have just any of the improvisational moments, physical comedy, all that kind of stuff. He was just captivating. And I actually got to double for him a couple of times physically because he
What?
yeah, so the his chin, he had a prosthetic chin and eyebrows that they would have to glue on and use makeup for and everything. And inevitably it was the thing that was falling off when the lights got hot and they would just go off and they'd have to constantly reattach it and touch it up. So it was just a time consuming thing. And there was a shot where Magnus Skeving, the creator of it, the guy who plays Sporticus, he kind of it was a loose cannon. You never knew what you were going to get with him. And we were in the green room, and he would be like, "Raymond, come with me." And I went to the dressing room next door. He was like, put on the costume. Put on the costume. We need you for this shot." I was like, Back then I was much skinnier. And I was basically his size, Stephen Carl's size, and they just needed a shot of my legs, kind of walking around because like he lost his shoe or something like that in the episode, and he had to jump around with his socks, and you could just see his socks. So there's a couple of pictures of me in a Robbie Rotten outfit, uh,
God.
except obviously the makeup and everything. And if for your podcasters who can't actually see me, I am African American, so I
Your picture's on the thumbnail, so
okay, great. Yeah, so you can tell I'm black. So obviously they couldn't see anything above my waist, but I got to jump around in his costume, and it was fun. So I did strut around a little bit, and it was very a tight fitting. I don't even know, a suspenders kind of outfit, and I'll send you a picture of it so maybe you can put it on
please
your
do. I'd love
website
to
or
see
whatever.
it.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, Stefan was so wonderful. And when I was on, I did the first season. So I was on with Jody and Julie and Matthew and several other folks that weren't on your podcast. But everybody, for the most part, was really cool to me. And I'm sure you heard all kinds of stories, but it was a pretty grueling production schedule
Mhm.
throughout. And it was shot in Iceland, which I'd never left the country at that point. I I dropped out of college actually. I was in the middle of my sophomore year, and I had like I don't know like 3 weeks notice, something like that. And I was supposed to be just like this apprentice that was kind of a glorified intern
On the show?
and yeah, on the show. So that's how I got the job. So I sent in my reel because I'd done some puppetry. Just I had video. I basically sent in like a DVD of like video from my theater work. and because they were looking for an extra person on that. Basically think that they needed an extra hand that they would pay less. But so I was an apprentice, and then they had somebody else throughout the production ended up leaving the production, so I got bumped up to an assistant puppeteer. So I ended up leaving. I'd never left the country with about 2.5, 3 weeks notice. I thought I was just going to be gone for like a month and a half, 2 months. Ended up staying out there for a whole year in Iceland. So it was truly a like it just made it grew me in so many ways, as it grew me into an adult in so many ways. So that show has so many layers of nostalgia for me because I had so many force firsts for me in addition to being on TV set. Like I was a pretty sheltered church kid, and then I came out to Iceland where it was a pretty party city, and made a bunch of Icelandic friends, made a lot of production friends that are still friends today, and got an Icelandic girlfriend, doing the whole 20 somethings life out there. And so, yeah, it was pretty special, that whole experience.
It's funny. I'm friends with Tyler Bunch and James
Yeah.
Godwin. And when I had James Godwin on the show, we were talking about LazyTown, and he's like, "Get Tyler Bunch on the show and ask him about that." I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, we were asked to do LazyTown, but we didn't want to move to Iceland, so we told them that we quit puppeteering." So then I get Tyler Bunch on the show. He was guest number 100 actually,
Okay.
and I said, "Okay, so." This is a fan question. I ask listeners if they have any questions they want to send themselves. I was like, this isn't really much of a question, but it's something that James Godwin wanted me to bring up. Tyler's like, uh-oh. I'm like, what do you mean, uh-oh? I haven't even gotten to it yet. Um, but filming in Iceland, it's funny. I went out with one of my friends a couple days ago. She went on a school trip to Iceland back when we were in high school. We actually
Yeah.
were talking about that experience for her. Did you like Iceland?
Yeah. So
I'll take that as a maybe.
no. It's a joke because Icelanders, most of their economy is tourism. So there's about 300. I don't know what the population is now, but when I was there 20 some odd years ago, the population was like over 300, just over 300,000 people. But during the tourist station time of year, they double in size. So there's actually an extra 300,000 tourists that come there. So they always, um, the thing that they always ask tourists is like, so how do you like Iceland? So that's kind of a cliche of like, how do you like Iceland? But like, it's crazy because I spent a year there, So for the most part, it was a really amazing experience. And I'm incredibly grateful to be out there. But, it was hard at times. And the light, summer times, it's almost 24-hour dark light outside. So you would be in your apartment and it would just be bright all the time. It would be so hard to sleep. People would put like tinfoil on their windows just to block out the light. And then in as winter times, it would just be dark all the time. So you wouldn't see the sun for like months at a time because if it wasn't dark, it would be cloudy and rainy. So even if it was daytime and there was a little bit of light, you wouldn't see the sun because there would be a cloud overcast. Um, so I did have a really amazing time. I'm incredibly grateful, and I recommend anybody to go to it. But it's more of a more complex answer than thumbs up, thumbs down. But like I said, it was a very much a moment of growth, and I just knew that it was going to be a once in a lifetime opportunity. And my mentor at the time at the center, Bobby Box, who recommended me for the job, I was, kind of like skittish about the whole situation because had never been out of the country. And he was like, "Man, you just gotta go. You're never gonna have this opportunity again." And I'm so glad I did.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, how did you get involved with Henson?
Yeah. So when I came back from Iceland, I came back to Atlanta and I started my own production companies doing work with Cartoon Network, Adult Swim, because they're in Atlanta as well. So did a lot of commercials and little promos and stuff with them, and various projects over the years. And then I did a show called Walking with Dinosaurs, the Arena Spectacular, which we ended up touring Canada as well. I did the North American tour. So let's see, I did Vancouver, um, Columbia. I did Victoria, um, Regina, Saskatchewan, um, a lot of the major cities in Canada. Um, and then, so that's all giant animatronic dinosaurs.
Right.
Um, and then I did a bunch of other stuff. Anyway, the Henson Company started doing workshops in, I guess, 2015. And that's generally how they cast. That's something that Jim started, in the 70s once they started really um, having the need for more puppeteers on Sesame and eventually the Muppet Show. Is That's how they would cast things. They would have some sort of open call, and they would pick folks that they saw potential in and would cast them from that. So that's right. I met Donna Kimball in Atlanta at a thing called Dragon Con, which is a big Comic Con that it takes place in Atlanta, and they
Yep.
have a puppetry track um, run by Bo Brown, which is a really special experience because it's like any Comic Con. It's huge. It's like 60,000 people over the weekend. But this is the only one with a dedicated puppetry track where they'll have people who have been in different shows come out and do workshops and panels and stuff. And they had Donna Kimball, who is a frequent Henson puppeteer.
Yep. And one of
And
my previous guests.
oh yeah, okay, great. Yeah, Donna's amazing. She's like my big sister out there. And so I had done some improv. We did like an improv thing at Dragon Con and kind of connected. And so when this Henson thing came up, because it was a type of thing where it was an 8-week workshop and I was living in Atlanta. And you'd have to like basically be in LA for like 8 weeks on your own dime. And I was like, I don't know if it's really worth it. It'd be an amazing experience. And so I like Facebook messaged her. I was like, what do you think I should do with us? And she was like, I don't know what you should do, but it's an amazing opportunity. And I was like, all right, you know what? She's absolutely right. So yeah, there was this workshop. I think some like 400 people applied and maybe 20 people got picked, including myself. And um, it was an 8-week workshop. And it was specifically because I know that Brian has this program called Puppet Up, which
Yep.
is yeah, improv show that Donna may have spoken to you about.
Yeah,
Um,
and Patrick Bristow as well.
oh, you had Patrick on it.
He was a very, very early guest, like in the single digits when I started. I think episode number 6, I think it was. And that was really what made my friends want to listen to the show because they all recognized him from all these sitcoms that we watched when we were kids. Like, I got a lot of
Yeah.
messages like, "How did you get that guy?" I was like, "Okay, that guy has a name. Just an FTR. That guy has a human's name." And
Yeah,
I
no,
reached out to him and he said yes. And we're still very, very good friends. I actually just heard from him the other day.
that's wonderful. No, Patrick is delightful. So yeah,
Like I remember
Brian.
on his birthday one year, I messaged him happy birthday, and it was also the same day I got the call to work on the first ever movie I did. So I emailed him happy birthday, and he's like, "Oh, forget about that. Did I hear that you were going to be working on a movie?"
No,
Isn't
he's
that
very
sweet?
he's such a sweet guy. But yeah, he was one of the workshop leaders too, because they were trying to, you know, the whole. I'm sure Patrick spoke a little bit about this on the podcast, but the whole idea behind Puppet Up was to create some spontaneity within the performers, kind of bring that magic back that the original Muppet performers had, being able to like improv and ad lib and all that kind of stuff, and how a lot of the element can be taught. And so I had an improv background as well. I'd done puppet improv. I like basically created my own improv shows as well. And so I had a leg up in that space. And so I applied and did the workshops, and it was great. Um, and so that really put me in on their radar and put me on the map. And even though I still live in Atlanta, originally from LA, so I was able to work in LA as a local out there, and so from there I got cast and did my first Puppet Up show. 10 years ago. And then I also have cast in Splash and Bubbles, which worked along with Donna Kimball and Amy Garcia. Uh, and that is, for your listeners, is a digital puppetry show. Sid the Science Kid, Word Party, Splash and Bubbles. These shows, if you watch them, they look like computer generated cartoons, but we're actually manipulating the characters using puppetry techniques. So it's basically the same technology that Jim invented right before he passed away. If you're familiar
Hmm.
with the character Waldo, was
Yeah,
kind
I
of the
actually did a retrospective on Muppet Vision 3D right around the time that
yes,
it closed because I've been to Muppet Vision 3D and I remember
yeah, yeah.
Waldo from that. I actually have a Waldo Vinylmation figure in this room
Mm.
somewhere. I just don't know where the hell it is.
Yeah, so that's kind of the genesis of that style of puppetry. And so that's Splash and Bubbles was that as well, which was an amazing experience. Just being able to work on the Henson lot with that, and also it was full circle. Like I said, worked with Donna Kimball on that, who was. It was just nice to have a familiar face, and honestly, being working on that. I was working with Leslie Carrera Rudolph, John Tartaglia, who's in the original Avenue Q and among a million other things, and created the new Fraggle Rock
I was just
basket.
about to say the
Rock,
mastermind behind the new
yeah,
Fraggle Rock. Yeah.
yeah, and also a great guy. And like I said, Amy Garcia. And so I was up against some real heavy hitters in puppetry, but the fact that it was Henson digital puppetry, it kind of leveled the playing field a little bit. Because Amy had never done it, Leslie had never done it, John had done it with Word Party and some other stuff. Um, but we were all learning this new thing. I think if it was just straight puppetry and I was brought into that, it would have been I would have had a harder time finding my footing, but because we were all learning those first couple of episodes, it really helped me get into the groove better. And because I learned that technology, I kind of took to it because the stuff that we were doing with Walking with Dinosaurs was animatronic, which the rigs that we use were basically Waldos, even though we called them voodoo rigs. Yeah, which is fun. So having that like technological experience helped me understand what was happening a little bit easier, and also got me in. So now I know that system, and so when I do work with Henson, oftentimes they will have me if there is an opportunity to use some of that technology, they'll put me in that space, or if there is a job that requires puppeteers to use that technology, I'm one of their folks that they can bring on that they don't have to hold their hand as much. So it was a great opportunity for that too. Yeah.
Hmm.
Even in fact, when Johnny went to go do Fraggle Rock, he was doing uh, uh, Word Party, and so I came in and took over his character for Word Party,
Oh,
and was
nice.
able to, yeah, and I was able to. Kip was his character, the kangaroo, and I was able to kind of seamlessly transition into that. He still did the voice later on, but I for all the production stuff for that final season. Not all of it, but half of that season, I was his character, which was a lot of fun. So yeah, it's and prior to that, I had actually worked with Heather Henson, the youngest Henson daughter, on because she has a program called Handmade Puppets Dreams, which any of you listeners who are filmmakers as well that want to do puppetry, I highly recommend this program. It's basically this thing where it's like a traveling short film festival that Heather created, um, where she will curate and sometimes finance puppet short films. And they're generally not Muppety style, more on the weird avant-garde style puppetry, because that's what she tries to, um, elevate. So I made a film for her system, and she financed and produced it. And that was my first, I guess, interaction with some of the Henson family. But obviously, the Henson Company is mostly run by Brian, the oldest son, and Lisa, the oldest daughter. And so that was it was good that I knew Heather, but it didn't really impact my connection to the company that much. But yeah, and since then, I mean, I got I don't know when this is coming out, but as of this recording,
Thursday.
I have okay, it's coming out Thursday. Great. I have a we're going to be in a production of Puppet Up on February the weekend of February 20th in Los
Nice.
Angeles. Yeah, so anybody who's listening that's in the area should definitely get tickets now for that. So yeah,
You guys
it's
get tickets to
still
Pub It Up if you're in LA, and if you're in Halifax, get tickets to Someplace Believing. I'm gonna keep plugging it until we sell it out. It's
great.
worth
Yes, I
it.
don't.
Both are worth it.
Great. I don't want to take away from your audience. Maybe it's 2 weekends with Puppet Up, so maybe you can do one weekend one and do the other weekend at the other. Uh, uh, so yeah,
Actually, in all seriousness, I've seen Puppet Up online, and
great.
it is worth coming to.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I hope that you get to see it live because every show is different because
I
it is
keep saying
improv.
to Alan Troutman, if you guys are ever touring again, come to Nova Scotia. Come on. There's a
I tell
big.
you,
We're trying to expand our puppet. What's the word I'm looking for? Um, like the Unnatural Disaster Theater Company here just
mm,
started every fall the Objective Puppet Festival.
oh,
And
fun.
one of my friends, who actually got me the job I have now doing this play, he's like, this might be worth it for you. So I checked it out, and I'm like, okay, what is this? And they're like, okay, you got a choice of whatever you want to do. You can do a stage show, you can make a film, you can teach a class. I was like, don't have time to make a film because I'm working on one. I'm not very comfortable performing on stage, but I wouldn't mind teaching a class. So I taught a class that was about developing character with puppets, because one of the things I kind of noticed about puppets is that people just put a puppet on and just kind of flail it around, but don't really make it
Hmm.
look very, very real. And I
Mm.
do understand that that really does take a lot of practice, but but even so, it still really does get under my skin. So I was like, all right, this is how you develop a character with it, and there were some really good actors in that.
That's great.
I have
Yeah,
some.
absolutely.
Actually, I have some video of the skits they did. I can send those to you if you'd like.
Yeah, sure. No, it is so much of what we do is the repetition of it, you
Hmm.
know? And I find doing this for going on 30 years, I if I'm not doing it and I haven't done it in a while, and then I get up and do it, it's like a muscle. You feel like you haven't exercised that muscle that much. So it truly is something that you gotta just do.
Yeah.
And it is great that you can have the workshops and learn the little tidbits and the nuances of the performance and keep that in the back of your mind. But the only real way to make it work is by doing. So, I'm always grateful when I can work with the Henson Company and other folks like that. But it is truly a muscle that you have to exercise regularly.
Mm. And you were talking about the digital puppetry style of like Splash and Bubbles and Sid the Science Kid. And you're right, it really does look animated.
Yeah.
I know somebody who thought that Sid the Science Kid was computer animated, and I was like, no, they're actually puppeteering. It's just not the kind of traditional style. It's
Mhm.
so experimental, and I was talking to Patrick about this, that it's very, very true to the kind of style that Jim Henson liked. I don't know if you saw this early Sesame Street. I bring this up all the time to talk about like the experimental style. So like there was this insert on Sesame Street with this Muppet who was played as like ropes, like eyes and a mouth. It was known as Face and
Okay.
or Limbo or Nobody. I've heard many different accounts as to what he named this puppet, but it was in part also animated. But the face was just a puppet that was manipulated by rubber bands with digital effects coming in that were animated by Scanimate, which was early computer animation.
Yeah, absolutely. Jim, it's funny because um, people always talk about like, oh, CG versus puppetry, CG versus puppetry. I truly think that if Jim were still with us, he would have been a part of the forefront of the CG revolution of the, early 2000s. he would
Yeah.
have been playing with that. I mean, like James Cameron or any of the other truly groundbreaking filmmakers, just
Oh yeah.
because he loved technology, but he also loved to push the boundaries of what these things were capable of. And Brian has that too, you know. Whenever, like for something like Earth to Ned, which was an amazing show, and it's hard to find right now, but if you can, I highly recommend checking it out. You know, so much of the stuff that he does is in that same vein where he's like trying new things. And Brian is a technologist. Like when he's directing, he can do most of the jobs on set, certainly the puppetry jobs. You know, we did a job a couple of months ago for this company, Wizards of the Coast, which it creates Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons. And they created a bunch of puppets for to introduce this new product game that they were producing, and it's very much in the vein of Dark Crystal Labyrinth, kind of Freudian kind of creatures and stuff. But even that had like a little worm that was like the size of an eraser that had micro animatronics elements in it, and that I literally, as like a puppeteer, had to like pick up the worm and put it on the puppet's shoulder and all that kind of stuff. And Donna Kimball was off to the side using a Waldo to move its head and mouth and stuff. So Brian has a mindset for innovation and technology, and just like his father did. And I mean, I certainly don't think that I am in the same space as the two of them, but it's something that I appreciate and strive for as well as an artist. And one of the things I admire greatly about Jim was that he was a true artist, like always trying to push the boundaries outside of being a capitalist and a producer and all that kind of stuff. He was trying to make himself a better artist and the industry a better industry. So yeah, it's really cool to see how they carry on the legacy.
Looks like you answered my next question. I was going to ask
Yeah.
about doing Earth to Ned.
Yeah.
But on that note about like continuing with Jim Henson as an experimentalist in CGI versus puppetry, here we've got tomorrow, as of this recording, tomorrow, as of when this comes out, came out yesterday, the Muppet Show reboot special.
Yes, very exciting. We were actually shooting the Wizards of the Coast Magic the Gathering thing the same week that they were shooting the Muppet thing. Uh, I mean, it's exciting. Any time that there is new puppetry out there, I'm excited to see it. I have a daughter who just turned 1, and
Happy
you know,
birthday to her.
yes, yes. So much of the cartoons out there are so fast and energetic and all that kind of stuff, and like we try not to show her stuff that is like too frenetic, just because we don't want to reprogram her brain. So we will
Yeah,
put
like it's
on,
so unrealistic.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
I
yeah.
used to
So
watch Looney Tunes as a kid, and that's probably not what you want to be showing a child now because it's so easily imitatable.
well, it's also just like, yeah, it's so frenetic, you know. You don't want them to get too hyper and out of control. So we should put on like old Muppet stuff, you know. We put on, old Sesame Street stuff, and it's still like the legacy continues. And so yeah, we'll definitely be watching it. And, I'm such a fan, and that's what's one of the great things about the opportunities that I've been given is that I'm a performer and a fan, and I have to constantly check myself when I'm working with Brian and like even Donna or some of the Alan Troutman, like all these folks who, if you're a fan of puppetry, you may know their name or you certainly know their work. But I'm so grateful for being able to be around them. And I have to be cool. It's like, okay, we got to work. I can't like ask Brian a bunch of questions about this story or that story or whatever. And every now and again, he will throw out some sort of like little gem about his childhood, and I'll be like, okay, I'm not going to ask any follow-ups because we got to get back to work. But uh, he truly like. he is not the type that feels like he is jaded, or he had a good childhood and he respects his family and he appreciates, he knows, he has a good balance of like knows where he came from, but is not too like prideful and boastful about it. But every now and again, he will just like speak very fondly about his childhood and stuff that his parents did and his siblings did, and just be like, it feels so nice to hear him humanize his upbringing in that kind of way, because you just want your heroes to be human sometimes and be good people. And man, nothing I've seen has said anything else other than that, like that whole group of folks were good people.
Hmm. Have you ever had any interaction with any of the OG Muppet performers?
Yeah, you know, Kevin Clash is a good buddy of mine. Bill Beretta, he actually performed for on Puppet Up a couple of times with me. Um, you know, and uh, uh, Dave Goles at Dragon Con, I did this whole conversation about um, just the Muppet universe and his interactions with it. And so I led the panel, so I had a bunch of
Oh,
wonderful conversations
nice.
with them. Yeah. And I met Steve Whitmire years ago when I was like a teenager at the Center for Puppetry Arts, because he's also from Georgia.
I
Um,
think he lives there too.
yeah, he lives in Georgia, in the suburbs. So yeah, I've tangentially had a bunch of conversations with a lot of those folks. I am of the mindset that I try not to overextend my relationship with people like that. Like, I don't want to pretend like I'm their buddies. You know what I mean? Like Lisa and Brian, like they're my bosses. They're my I call them my sometimes bosses. So I'm not like, hey man, you want to go get a drink? You know, I'm like try and be more respectful of that situation, just because I know that they have so many people clamoring for their attention all the time, and they've had that their entire lives. So, if they extend to me and it's like, hey, let's go do something, I'm definitely going to hang out and do whatever. But I try and be respectful of that. And part of that is just, back when I used to be a good church boy, being like respecting the pastor, clergy, and all that kind of stuff. So I try and be, not too much of a fanboy, especially when I need to be a professional on that level. But yeah, I'm very grateful for those opportunities.
Hmm. So, what do you think is a major difference that you find challenging when it comes to digital puppetry versus hand puppetry? Because, as you were saying, you learned hand and rod puppetry the way that most of us Muppet fans who are passionate about this stuff would. But then you go on to doing the digital stuff, and
Mhm.
that definitely is, I'm going to use the word again, experimental in a sense.
Um, the main difference, I think, is the the geometry of it.
Okay.
So if I and part of what's good about television puppetry is that when you're doing TV puppetry, you have your hand in but you're looking at the monitor the whole time. When you are doing digital puppetry, oftentimes you are not in control of the full character. There is somebody else, for particularly something like Splash and Bubbles or Sid the Science Kid. That's two to three people operating it. So for Splash and Bubbles, I'm operating the face and the voice, and I have the digital puppetry using my left hand, using all of my limbs, honestly, to create these expressions. And then I have somebody who's operating the body. So for Splash and Bubbles, they were fish. So they basically had rod puppets that were representing the movement of the body. So the person operating my body was Dan Garza,
Another
who also
friend.
went. Yes, yes, Dan was in the workshops with me, and he's one of my dearest uh, friends in the industry. Um, and so we really connected in the workshops, and then outside of that. And so when we were working Dunk, the pufferfish, we really had that really special connection. and you get that with other forms of puppetry, particularly like physical, walk around puppets, like the gourds from Fraggle Rock or
Yes.
Sweetums or any character that has multiple puppeteers operating it. You end up getting into this like magic zone where you all are one character. Um, but then you also have the space where Dan with the fish can like spin spin around and go in two different directions and turn upside down and all that kind of stuff. And I'm kind of following his lead and reacting to his movement, but then I'm actually talking, so he has to react to when I say something and kind of shrug my shoulders. I make a noise that sounds like I'm shrugging my shoulders. He has to like feel that out and make the puppet do the same thing. Um, and you really can move it all around. And then technically, you have this thing where with the digital puppetry, you can arrange the entire face in any different ways you want. You can make like the left corner of your eyebrow move in a certain way, different from the right corner of your eyebrow, and you have that movement connected to your left finger pinky versus a smile that can be connected to a foot pedal on your left foot. And so you have all of these opportunities to make just the face do all of these different expressions with your whole body. And so being able to translate the thing that you want this character to do facially to other parts of your body is it's kind of like playing music. If you want uh, that key to sound, then you have to do two different things with your fingertips and all that kind of stuff. So it does require you to kind of reprogram your brain a little bit. But the great thing is that this technology was created by Henson performers who know what it's like to bring a character to life, who know what it's like to perform in front of an audience, and you're not, it's ergonomic. You're not going to be in a position for the most part that is going to feel physically painful and uncomfortable. At least they try and do that as least as possible. Some puppets just are, but they are. It's like being in a car designed by somebody who's a race car driver. They just know that thing. They're playing an instrument designed by somebody who plays that instrument. They know it so much better than somebody who doesn't. So, as tricky as it is, it's going to be the easiest version possible.
Hmm. So, what has it been like for you working on Yo Gabba Gabbaland? Because I mean that's a show that a lot of us remember from when we were kids, and now it's back in this
Yeah.
style. I actually have not seen the reboot yet, but
No, it's a lot of fun, and it's on Apple TV Plus in the States. I don't know if it's the same in Canada or elsewhere.
probably
Yeah.
we have most of the same content.
Yeah, great. So it's so delightful. It doesn't have the same main guy, DJ Lance. It's another young
I
girl.
noticed a little bit of that as I was
Yeah,
researching for this. I was like, where's the other person?
yeah, DJ Lance. Her name is Cami Cam. She is a young woman who's yeah, she's like Stephanie from LazyTown, who's just like this child prodigy who like you see them on camera and they just light up. They're so energetic and dynamic and fun. And she was such a delight. I like one of those kids that's like that kid's going places. And she's a dancer too, so she just like knows how to move her body. And so yeah, that's and the other thing that the technology kind of helped me with is we shoot that whole show on what they call a digital volume, which if you've seen any behind the scenes stuff from stuff like The Mandalorian or some of the newer stuff with Star Wars, they have a big digital background.
Oh wow, you
Um,
guys are going real big budget with this one.
yeah, 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 yeah. So it's
Wow.
this like I don't know how big, but a giant video screen. So no green screen. So the benefit of that as a director is um, everybody's reacting to the same thing. When the camera moves, the background moves. So you get like really nice parallax and everything, so that like you can see the mountain in the back moving at a different time than the tree in the foreground. and stuff like that, which is tricky as a director because when you shoot two cameras, you just have to coordinate them in certain ways that they don't cross their images because that just messes with the screen. But again, it's great for all of the performers because they can see the backgrounds that's happening and everything. Um, they're all dancers. The people in the costumes, all the characters are voiced by the same people, but the physical bodysuits are different. They're all dancers, and uh, it's a music
Not
show.
not
It's
that any
the
of the kids are gonna notice.
well, I tell you, they really do because like
Oh,
the costume characters dance, man. They're not just like they're big puffy soups, but they really dance. Um, and which is exciting because the music is just so dynamic. It kind of blends that like electronic hip hop kind of pop vibe that the old Yo Gabba Gabba went to. Um, and they have some real bangers in there that like even if you're not a kid, you probably might put it on in the if you put it heard it in the background, you wouldn't be mad about it because the music is just so darn catchy and very danceable. So yeah, I directed 3 episodes of that. And that actually did come from Henson because a producer with Henson saw one of my other short films and kind of said, "Hey, we're bringing back Yoga Abba Gabba. Do you want to direct on that?" So, and because I have a puppetry background and these are costumes, I was able to bring an element of puppetry in the way that I was helping them, communicating with them, and also just making sure that the characters were uh, emoting, articulating physically, and all that kind of stuff. And communicating to the performers. And they had a great choreographies, but I would help, tweak the choreography and all that kind of stuff. So it's a really fun show. It's a really great show. We're on season 2 now. If you have any kids, especially kids that just like music, it's very it's geared towards preschoolers, but I do think that the music's good enough to where it is captivating enough for older kids, and um, it's a good dance against good dance vibes.
hmm. So to wrap it up, apart from Yo Gabba Gabbaland, are you working on anything new at the moment that you can talk about? Because, like I've said, you've done a lot of different projects in many different aspects of the arts and entertainment.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see that. I do some. I do the Aflac Duck for their social media pretty regularly. So if anybody is interested in checking that out, you can just follow the Aflac Duck on Instagram. That's where you
And if
see
anybody
most
is
of
not
the.
interested and just comes across it by force, let us both apologize for
No,
that.
I will say this: the stuff that we do is really silly.
Oh
Like
yeah.
the producer that creates it, he follows all of the social media trends and dances and stuff. So just seeing the duck try and do like the dances and social media trends is really funny. So yeah, that's always stuff that's fun and new. Um, I'm doing more puppet up. There's some more interesting things coming out of the Wizards of the Coast world that I'm not. Yeah, so that's going to be fun. So definitely keep your eye out for more of that. I did a commercial for I did some commercials with the Henson Company. I can't. I'll say that I did some fun commercial work for very prominent products that people would know
Ooh.
that the Henson Company is producing that has some really, really fun puppets
It's nice to see
that are coming
puppets
out.
on TV again, like in commercials
Yeah,
nowadays.
I was thinking a lot about that, and I think that people have such an adverse reaction to AI right now.
Oh
Um,
God.
just because, they feel like whenever you watch an AI thing, it's like you feel like you're being lied to.
Hmm.
Um, so I think that there is an opportunity, and it's actually happening, where a resurgence of puppetry because it's the literal opposite of AI. It's the most tactile, real thing that you'll find is puppetry. So I do think that there's going to be mini resurgence of puppetry. Kind of like how, early 2000s CG was becoming a thing, and it became that uncanny valley where CG started to look kind of creepy and all that kind of stuff. We reached this peak where it's like that's as much as we can get before it gets creepy, and then it goes in the opposite direction. So I think that AI is doing, ironically enough, some good work for puppetry because it's driving them towards puppetry. Uh,
Hmm.
so that's exciting. And then, outside of that, there's a lot of really great work that's coming out of Atlanta, and the Center for Puppetry Arts. I'm directing some shows there, which I haven't done in 20 plus years. A production of Tales of Edgar Allan Poe, which is this really like it's kind of a young adult series that's like horror adjacent because it's Edgar Allan Poe and like really kind of cool puppetry stuff. Um, and yeah, a lot of other projects that we're trying to get off the ground. So it's an exciting time to be a puppeteer.
Yeah, and with what you were saying about puppets making a resurgence, I guess we'll find out how much of a resurgence it can make tomorrow. Or if you're
Yes.
watching this after, already just made last night with the
Yeah.
Muppet Show reboot.
Yeah. And honestly, I feel like it's important for people who are fans of puppetry and the Muppets, even if you like it's not the version that you wanted or grew up with or blah, 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 whatever. You support it just because it's going to make more opportunities for the
Yeah.
version that you want, you
Yeah, and I
know?
mean with like Muppets Tonight and the
Yeah.
ABC sitcom of the Muppets. I mean like
Yeah.
I had heard before that Jim Henson himself pulled the Muppet Show from the air because he didn't want it to be too repetitive. Well, here we are now 45 years later and we've got the
Hmm.
Muppet Show because like when with Muppets Tonight and Jim Henson Hour, a lot of people just complained this isn't the Muppet Show. Okay, well it's a Muppet Show. It doesn't have to be the Muppet Show. And now
Yeah.
here we are, and a lot of those characters on both of those, even though the shows weren't too popular, a lot of the characters became big stars like Pepe and
Yeah.
Bobo the Bear,
Yeah.
among others. And I actually saw that Pepe is going to be in this new Muppet Show as well. So we're bringing Muppets old and new. So obviously this is not the same Muppet Show that it was 50 years ago, but
Yeah.
hopefully there's something in it for everybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm a fan and I work in it. So I'm gonna be there watching it too.
You were on the Muppet Show?
No, no, no. I'm saying
I was gonna
I'm a
say.
fan of it. I'm gonna be watching it.
Okay, I'm because I'm gonna be watching it too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Are you gonna be watching it like right on Disney Plus, or are you gonna watch it
I
in prime time?
I think I'm gonna try and watch it in prime time.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Me too. Like I was telling my dad today that like I have a lot of friends who are maybe well, I was the lone nerd in my friend groups growing up, but now I do have a lot of friends who are into the
Sure.
Muppets, maybe not on the same level as I am, who are most likely going to watch it immediately on Disney Plus. And I'm like, okay, mission: stay off social media all day. No spoilers. We already know what Muppets are in it. I actually was telling my sister, I'm very happy to see a lot of older Muppets in this, more so than I think in the 2011 movie, the reboot with
Yeah.
Jason Segel. Like I saw Hilda and George the Janitor, Mildred Huxtedder, all of who were main players in the first season. Like I don't know if you follow the Muppets on social media, but that big campaign they had all last year, 70
Yeah.
Muppets for 70 weeks for the 70th
Yeah.
anniversary. There were some pretty deep cuts in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And the more people that get in, there's more of an opportunity for it to come back with more episodes. So fingers crossed.
Seth Rogen, if you are listening, don't screw this up. Uh, I don't think he will. So,
Yeah.
Raymond, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And to all of our listeners, make sure you can come see Someplace Believing. And if you're in LA, make sure you go see Puppet Up. They're both worth it. And I'll see you next time. Peace out. And watch The
Great.
Muppet
Thank you.
Show. And I want to hear what you guys think. See you next
Great.
time.